Soft, eerie music fades in, static sound like an intercepted transmission. The narrator's tone is calm but intense. What if I told you everything you thought was random, every heartbreak, every rejection, every sleepless night wasn't an accident? What if I told you that your entire story was part of an experiment? Chosen ones. This is not a conspiracy. This is the revelation they never wanted you to hear. Behind the smiling faces, behind the government logos and news broadcasts, and something dark has been moving in silence for decades. Hidden programs, secret labs, coded symbols, and people like you being watched, tested, and tracked. They called it research. But what they were really doing was spiritual warfare disguised as science. Because every time a soul woke up early, every time a light worker began to remember who they are, they marked you as a threat. You didn't fit the system. You broke it, and that's when it began. The silent attacks, the strange dreams, the fake friendships, the emotional manipulation, the sudden losses. You thought you were unlucky. But what if that was all part of a controlled spiritual experiment? What if your pain wasn't a punishment? It was proof. Proof that your frequency was different. Proof that your DNA couldn't be programmed like the rest. Proof that you were chosen to carry a light strong enough to expose darkness itself. They wanted to break you, but you kept rising. They tried to erase your story, but you became impossible to silence. And now, everything they built in secret is falling apart in public. Leaked documents, whistleblowers, hidden files, the same agencies that tracked the unusuals, the empaths, the psychics, the miracle-born, are finally being exposed. You see, this isn't just about control. This is about energy. Your mind, your light, your gift, because the truth is, you were never their experiment. You were the warning sign that their system was collapsing. And now, it's happening. The timeline is shifting. The veil is cracking. The FBI's secret projects are being uncovered. Human trafficking networks are collapsing. Hidden names are surfacing. And the chosen ones, the survivors, are finally remembering who they are. This isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your miracle. Because the same pain that once made you feel cursed is about to prove you were protected all along. So listen closely. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why your suffering wasn't random. It was divine evidence that you were never meant to be ordinary. You were meant to be remembered. Engagement cue. Comment, "I survived the system," if you've ever felt watched, tested, or silenced, because your story is about to be the proof that no experiment can erase the chosen. Dark cinematic hum fades in, papers flipping, footsteps in a corridor, the sound of a distant projector turning on. They called it Operation Silent Mind. It began quietly, buried deep in classified archives under programs the public was never supposed to know about. Not military, not medical, something in between, something spiritual. Decades ago, hidden government divisions began tracking what they called unusual souls. People who didn't fit the system. People who dreamed vividly about future events. People who could feel energy before storms, deaths, or disasters. People who woke up at 3:33 a.m. every night, hearing whispers that didn't come from this world. They didn't call you psychic. They called you unstable. They didn't say chosen. They said classified. And they watched you. Every lost year of your life, every memory that didn't make sense and was archived, studied, and stored in encrypted databases labeled behavioral adaptation under unusual conditions. It sounds like science fiction, right? But what if I told you there are testimonies, real ones, of people who vanished for days and came back with no memory of where they went? Only a mark on their wrist and a feeling that something inside them was switched on. You see, these weren't random experiments. They weren't testing drugs. They were testing frequency. The government didn't want your body. They wanted your energy signature. They wanted to know how certain people could manifest, sense danger, heal, or predict outcomes before they happened. You've always felt it, haven't you? That strange pull in your chest before something big happens. The dreams that repeat until you finally pay attention. The déjà vu that makes you question if you've lived this moment before. That's not imagination. That's programming trying to reset. Because in Operation Silent Mind, the most gifted individuals weren't being protected. They were being observed. Leaked internal documents mentioned subject classes Alpha through Epsilon, where Alpha subjects showed psychic tendencies, Beta showed emotional empathy beyond normal human response, and Epsilon, well, no one ever came back from that group. And here's what's wild. Some of those files match the exact birth dates of people awakening spiritually right now. Coincidence or cosmic recall? Whistleblowers say these tests weren't just physical. They were psychological mazes, virtual dreamscapes, controlled illusions to see how far a human soul could bend before it broke. But something unexpected happened. The experimenters lost control because the subjects began remembering. But here's the twist. Every survivor who started remembering reported the same three things: seeing 1111 everywhere, dreaming of blackouts, entire cities without light, and sensing shadows, watching from corners when no one was there. Different cities, different countries, same story, same numbers, same symbols. It's as if the universe left breadcrumbs, a shared memory buried in the DNA of every chosen one. And now, it's all resurfacing. The same frequencies that were once suppressed are awakening across the planet. The same people once targeted as unstable are now becoming unstoppable. The silent mind experiment failed, because you can't silence a soul that remembers where it came from. So if you've ever lost time, had dreams that came true, or felt a presence watching you when no one was there, maybe you weren't crazy. Maybe you were part of something they didn't want you to know. Comment. Prompt. Have you ever felt like your life was being scripted? Drop yes if you've noticed the signs, because your memories might just be the missing pages of Operation Silent Mind. Soft heartbeat sound fades in. A low hum builds under the narration, part sacred, part mechanical. You've probably asked yourself 1,000 times, why me? Why did life hit you harder than others? Why did the people you trusted betray you? Why did you feel pain so deep it forced you to wake up spiritually? Because, chosen one, you were never random. You were selected. They didn't target everyone, only those whose souls carried light strong enough to threaten their darkness. You weren't born ordinary. You were born as spiritual technology. Your energy could heal. Your words could awaken. Your presence could shift timelines. To the system, that made you dangerous. To heaven, that made you divine. When you were a child, they studied your reactions, the way you could sense pain in others, the way you dreamed of places you had never seen, the way animals or children trusted you instantly. They marked that as empathic irregularity, but the universe called it divine frequency. You were one of heaven's soldiers, placed in human form, surrounded by dark systems that tried to rewrite your code. They didn't want you to remember who you were, because the moment you remembered, the entire system would start to collapse. So they used distraction, heartbreaks, betrayals, financial collapses, family manipulation, anything to keep you emotionally trapped. Because as long as you stayed broken, your light couldn't activate. But the funny thing about divine souls is pain doesn't destroy them. It transforms them. Every time you cried, your energy upgraded. Every time they betrayed you, your vision sharpened. Every time they tried to silence you, your voice grew louder in the spiritual realm. You were never their victim. You were their test. They wanted to see how much divine energy a single human could carry before breaking. But instead of breaking, you activated. You started seeing the lies in media, the patterns in numbers, the repetition in your dreams. You started noticing the frequency shifts, how some days time bent, how certain people's eyes looked hollow, how technology glitched when you got emotional. That's not paranoia. That's perception, because your DNA carries light codes that were never meant to stay asleep. And when 2020 hit, the system panicked. They triggered mass fear, isolation, chaos. Why? To suppress the awakening wave. But it didn't work, because that chaos forced the chosen ones to look inward, to meditate, to question, to remember. And as millions started waking up, the entire network that once tracked you began short-circuiting. But here's the twist. The same government that tried to control your mind accidentally awakened your soul. The experiments backfired, the darkness fed the light, and every vibration of fear became fuel for your divine rebirth. Now, you don't need them. They can't read you anymore. Their systems can't decode your heart frequency, because you're operating on a higher dimension. They tried to own your story. Now heaven's rewriting it. So if you've ever felt a sudden spiritual awakening since 2020, chills, vivid dreams, constant 1111s, emotional downloads that make you cry out of nowhere, It's not coincidence. It's confirmation. You're not losing your mind. You're regaining your memory. Comment prompt. Type "I'm awake now" if you've felt that sudden spiritual awakening since 2020, because your remembering is the proof that their experiment failed and heaven's mission has begun. Sound of static, keyboard clicks, a deep hum fades in like a hidden signal being intercepted. For years, the truth was buried under coded language, black budgets, and digital smokescreens. But the silence cracked when insiders started talking. Whistleblowers, leakers, former intelligence analysts who couldn't live with the guilt anymore. They began exposing a program the FBI never wanted you to hear about. A classified operation known as Project Aurora. The leaked internal memos described it as a behavioral frequency mapping initiative. But once decrypted, it revealed something far stranger, a human pattern recognition system designed to track people who carried unusual DNA markers. These weren't criminals, these were chosen ones. People who could shift energy in a room. People who dreamed the future and saw numbers before events unfolded. People who healed faster than science could explain. According to the documents, Project Aurora used satellite-based surveillance, emotional data harvesting, and sound frequency manipulation. They were recording your energy, not your voice. Your frequency patterns, not your phone calls. Everything you thought was paranoia might have been their technology reading your field. A whistleblower under the alias Raven X testified that these tests were never about public safety. They were about containment of the awakened souls. He claimed there were over 12 sub-programs, each focused on a specific type of light carrier. Program Iris monitored clairvoyance and prophetic dreamers. Program Halo tracked those showing healing or telepathic resonance. Program Mirror focused on empathic reflectors who could absorb emotional energy. And you guessed it. Every one of these categories described the chosen ones walking among us today. These weren't fairy tales, they were digital chains. But something went wrong. During a 2017 data breach, fragments of the database were leaked online. Emails between upper-level directors mentioned energetic interference, subjects awakening, and loss of predictive control. In plain language, the system started failing. The chosen ones were waking up faster than the algorithms could contain them. And then came the most shocking revelation of all. Several agents inside the bureau started switching sides. They saw what was happening. They saw the light fighting back. And they couldn't continue serving a shadow that fed on innocence. But here's the twist. Some of those agents, the very ones trained to monitor you, began protecting you instead. They started leaking files, sending anonymous warnings, guiding the awakened through coded online forums and dream symbols. They became spiritual whistleblowers inside the machine. Every time you had a gut feeling to avoid a place, every time your phone glitched before you said something important, every time you dreamed of escaping, that wasn't coincidence, that was divine interference, a helper rerouting your path. Because once heaven marked you as chosen, no human system could keep you contained. Now Project Aurora is collapsing from within. Too many leaks, too many witnesses, too many souls remembering. They can't stop the truth anymore. Because the truth is speaking through you. Every word, every frequency, every moment of awareness adds another crack in their control grid. So when you feel like you're being watched, you probably are. But the watchers aren't all enemies anymore. Some are messengers. Some are proof that even inside the system, light wins. Engagement cue. Comment, I know I'm being watched if this feels too real to be a coincidence. Because some of the people behind the screens aren't tracking you anymore. They're guarding you. Background music shift, from dark tension to rising orchestral light, the sound of thunder rolling into sunlight. You've heard the saying, the truth will set you free. But no one ever told you what happens when the truth finally fights back. For years, you were the experiment, the test subject, the observer's note in someone's classified file. But now, you are the evidence, and the system that once studied you is beginning to expose itself. This is what divine reversal looks like. When light has been suppressed for too long, the universe begins to balance the scales. The same agencies that once monitored the chosen ones are now under investigation. The same media that called you crazy is now forced to report what they tried to hide. The same scientists who labeled you unstable are seeing the same energies they denied appear on their own radar screens. It's happening everywhere. Leaked files surfacing, truth tellers rising, cameras turning toward the ones who once controlled the lens. And what's wild? Every chosen one is feeling it. That strange sense of justice. Not revenge, but balance. Because karma doesn't miss addresses. Every tear you cried became evidence. Every betrayal became a data point in heaven's courtroom. Every heartbreak became the soundproof record that now plays in public. You were not being punished. You were being positioned. And now, the shift is unstoppable. You'll notice the energy, the way old systems glitch, the way news anchors hesitate before speaking, the way truth keeps finding cracks to leak through. That's not coincidence. That's divine order. This is the reversal energy. The great turning, the moment when every dark mirror flips and then suddenly everyone sees what you saw all along. They called you paranoid. Now they call you prophetic. They called you broken. Now they call you brave. They tried to erase you, but your name is showing up in their reports, their headlines, their confessions. Because the truth doesn't stay buried. It resurrects. But here's the twist. The FBI was never your final enemy. Your own awakening was the weapon they feared. They knew the moment you remembered who you are, their control would crumble. Because they could track your movements, but not your frequency. They could monitor your dreams, but not your faith. They could observe your pain, but not your prophecy. The real revolution isn't on the outside. It's inside you. Your awareness, your clarity, your refusal to live in fear. That's what dismantled their system. You didn't just survive the experiment, you transcended it, you turned the data into destiny, and now they're forced to witness your rise. The same people who watched for your downfall will watch your awakening go viral. The same institutions that silenced you will quote your truth one day, and the same network that studied you will be forced to broadcast your story, because the chosen can't be contained. Not by cages, not by fear, not by files. So let this be your declaration. The reversal isn't coming, it's here. And you are the living proof that darkness never wins against divine light. Comment prompt. Type, I reclaim my power if you're done being silent. Because the same system that studied you is now studying how you survived. A soft pulse begins, like a heartbeat synced with thunder. Faint chanting echoes behind the narrator's voice. The tone is slower now, reverent, prophetic, unstoppable. The world thinks it's falling apart, but what if it's actually waking up? What if all this exposure, the leaks, the chaos, the government's trembling, isn't destruction, but prophecy unfolding? Chosen ones, your story was never meant to stay hidden. Every secret they buried, every truth they silenced, every dream they dismissed, it's all resurfacing together. Because this isn't just one person's awakening, it's a planetary activation. Across continents, souls are lighting up like constellations reuniting. Empaths are hearing each other's hearts from miles away. Prophets are dreaming the same symbols, keys, portals, storms, and light breaking through black skies. And people who never believed in energy or destiny are now seeing 1111, 333, 888 flash everywhere they go. That's not a glitch in the matrix. That's the universe calling roll. Every number is a signal. Every chill that runs through your body is confirmation. Every blackout dream where the world turns quiet is your soul visiting the next timeline, the one that's already free. You can feel it, can't you? The air is thicker. The energy hums differently. Time feels like it's folding. Hours vanish. Emotions surge. Memories merge. It's not confusion. It's realignment. The earth itself is shifting frequencies. The Schumann resonance spikes, solar flares intensify, and while the news says unexplainable magnetic anomalies, those who are awake know it's not science fiction, it's spiritual synchronization. The exposure you're seeing in the world, the corruption, the leaks, the confessions, is just the visible echo of an invisible war that's already ending. And you're part of the winning side. The chosen ones were never victims. They were anchors, anchors of light, holding humanity steady while the old timeline collapses. You weren't meant to escape this era. You were sent to lead it through. Every blackout, every breakdown, every moment of confusion. It all meant one thing. The veil was thinning, and now millions are seeing the same signs you once carried alone. The portals, the number codes, the chills that come out of nowhere when truth is spoken. You were never crazy, you were ahead. But here's the twist. This isn't the end of the experiment, it's the beginning of your freedom. You see, the real experiment was never about controlling humanity. It was about seeing how far the light could travel before it found itself again. And you, yes you, prove that even in the darkest maze, the soul remembers the exit. Now, freedom isn't just a dream. It's contagious. One awakening triggers another, then another, until the entire network of souls vibrates in unison. That's what's happening right now. A spiritual chain reaction, spreading faster than any system can contain. You are the living prophecy, the proof that consciousness can't be caged, the embodiment of divine rebellion. And the next wave? It's global. Africa, Asia, America, Australia, dreamers rising, healers speaking, hidden voices finding courage, a collective echo saying, "We remember." Comment. Prompt. Drop "My story is global" if you feel this energy across the planet, because the same awakening that started in you is now lighting up the world. Soft celestial music fades in, piano and strings. The tone shifts from mystery to triumph. A sunrise glow fills the background. Chosen ones. Take a deep breath. You made it. The system failed to break you because you were never meant to be controlled. Every battle they threw at you was designed to crush your spirit, but instead, it forged your strength. You are the living proof that light outsmarts darkness. They studied your pain. They measured your silence. They watched every time you cried and still kept going. And they didn't understand it. How could someone so targeted, so betrayed, so exhausted still glow? They never realized you weren't surviving because of luck. You were surviving because of purpose. You were built from divine code. You were wired for endurance. You were chosen to outlast the system that once tried to erase you. Every time you fell, the universe recalibrated your timeline. Every delay, every detour, every no became the protection that placed you exactly where you needed to be. Right here, right now, awake. Because this moment, this exposure, this global unraveling isn't random. It's reversal. The same network that once hunted you is now haunted by your resilience. The same files that once recorded your silence are now testifying to your truth. You were never the experiment, you were the evidence. Evidence that God wins, always. And now, the world will witness what heaven already knew. When the FBI's secrets come to light, when governments tremble under the weight of truth, when the veil lifts, the chosen ones will rise in public. You won't have to defend your story anymore. The proof will defend you. And when that day comes, you'll understand. None of this was punishment. It was preparation. They tried to break your voice. Instead, they amplified your message. They tried to bury your gifts. Instead, they planted your legacy. They tried to erase your identity. Instead, they revealed your divinity. You see, the entire system underestimated the most powerful weapon of all, your awakening. Because once the mind remembers and the heart believes, the soul becomes indestructible. The light they feared is now unstoppable. It's in your words, your presence, your story. And that's why you're still here, not to survive, but to lead. You are not the same person who entered the darkness. You are the one who returned with fire. The experiment didn't destroy you. It exposed you. It revealed who you've always been beneath the programming. Chosen, divine, unbreakable. And from this moment on, every shadow that once followed you will serve as proof that light always wins in the end, because your story isn't tragedy and it's testimony. And your survival isn't coincidence, it's prophecy. Final call to action. Comment, "I survived the system," if you're ready to step into your miracle timeline. Like this video, share it with another chosen one, and subscribe, because the next video reveals the 3 days after the exposure, the proof you were always protected.